All right, test. Cool, making noise. Very good. Okay, today I've got a game that I've played recently of Arcs, Leaders in Law. Played on hrf.com.im, which is a really great website for playing Arcs asynchronously, which basically means you can take ages with your turns and sort of have your turn whenever you want. I've found it to be a really great place to play this game, and I've just got a lot of thoughts, I guess, and so I thought it would be a good idea to put it into a video and sort of share it with the Discord. I'm not making this as a sort of how-to guide. It's more of a how I think about playing this game. I've probably played it, I don't know, maybe about 100 times at this point. Man, that's quite sad to say. But anyway, I really enjoy playing it, and I just want to, I guess, start sort of a bit of a conversation around the strategy of this game. I know that there's a lot of content that's out there, which is quite general, of how to play the various leaders, how to play various laws. The Space Cats, Peace Turtles guys put out some really great content on this, and I think absolutely recommend that. It's a really great watch. I think with Arcs, it's such there's so many, you find yourself in so many different situations that I thought it might be useful to just kind of go through a game and some of the thought process around various situations that we find ourselves in this game, and particularly, I guess, how I think about them. Anyway, I'm rambling. I basically just want to make it clear that I don't think that I know everything, and hopefully this just invites a bit of conversation, because I think that this is the kind of game where, in a couple of years' time, it's going to have quite a competitive, I would guess, sort of tournament scene. And so, yeah, I just kind of want to start some of this conversation. And I think the best way to do that is through the medium of video. It has been a bit of a mish to try and sort of collate the HRF UI into a video that I can sort of talk to in this sort of context. Shout out to JT, who has kind of just helped me. Always, I think there are things happening where this might become a bit easier, but for the meantime, he's helped me set this up to a point where I can, I think I can talk to it. I wanted to break this specific game into a few different videos, just mostly because if I do the whole game as one video, as you can already see, I like to ramble, and so it'd be quite a long, painful video, and it would be a nightmare for me if I, talked to a screen for 4 hours and then realized that my microphone wasn't plugged in. So I think it's best for everyone if we just break this down a little bit. So I thought for this video, I'll just talk to the draft and how I go about my decision in terms of picking my leader based on my setup, and the law cards as well. This specifically is a double law selection game. Personally, I really enjoy playing the double law. I think it, with the single law, it just, after having, maybe it's just because I'm a psycho and I've played this so much now that I need more. But I think the double law gives enough variability to all the different powers, and once you've played it enough, you can get your head around that many sort of different variables quite easily. Okay, so we are the blue player here. We are last in the turn order, which means we have the first choice in the draft. Obviously, the draft is just circular, so it's not like a snake draft or anything for the newer players that might be watching this. You can select either a leader or a law. and it just goes around and around and around until everyone's picked one leader and 2 lore cards. So off the bat, looking at the leader cards that we've got here, this comes down to a lot of this process comes down to the type of game that I want to play, but also a little bit my setup, my starting position, and also the other lore or the leader and lore cards that are out there, and any possible combos that might be out there. So just looking at these leaders, right off the bat, the thing that sticks out to me is these aren't the strongest, I wouldn't say, leaders. I would put leaders like the Quartermaster and the Overseer as 2 of the strongest leaders, and neither of those are in this game. So I think there's a lot of tricky leaders here. I think that Noble and Agitator specifically are quite hard to play. I think Agitator has a special place in my heart. I really enjoy playing Agitator. It kind of lines up with what I don't know, a set collection or something. I really enjoy it, but I don't think it's the strongest leader. I think it's quite hard to win with. Noble is very, very hard to win with in a 4-player game, just because what we're trying to do is A, declare ambitions, which is more difficult to do in a 4-player game, and B, win ambitions. And obviously we're always trying to win ambitions, but this specific leader, when scoring, you only gain power if you place first, which is really, really hard to do in a 4-player game, especially when you're trying to get to however many, 27 points. Yeah, I just think the Noble is basically looking at these leaders. I do not want to play the Noble. I hate playing the Demagogue. I never figured out how to play it, and so I do need to play more games with the Demagogue to try and figure it out. But again, it's a 4-player game, and it's a leader that is reliant on declaring ambitions. My opinion on leaders that need to declare ambitions to use their powers, they're stronger, much stronger in 3-player games, purely because in a 3-player game there's the same amount of ambitions to be declared, so that doesn't change in a 4-player game, but you now have one more player declaring ambitions. You have one more player taking the initiative, so I think it's just way harder to get the initiative and to be declaring ambitions in 4-player games, especially planning for it. I just find it really difficult. So straight off the bat, I know there's 2 leaders here that I don't want to be stuck with, and really I think that Rebel is quite a strong leader. It's got a pretty obvious downside, but yeah, I have found a lot of success playing with Rebel. I think Fuel Drinker is a strong leader where you can basically tax, copy or pivot to tax, and get an extra fuel is just always good. It's the same with Agitator in that you can copy or pivot, except you get an extra weapon. They have an interesting thing with their irregular power, where if anyone attacks you in battle, it doesn't come down to the defending ships. Instead it comes to the weapon icons that you have. So it's I find it a really fun leader to play, because you can you can build up a really strong defense without needing to necessarily have the ships on the board, and I just find that really interesting. So all of that said, let's just quickly look at the lore cards and then also our setup position as well. There's a lot of lore cards here. I mean, and the other thing with HRF is I don't think the pool of lore cards is complete. So there's a lot of lores that you're not getting in these HRF games yet. I'm sure that the team are kind of working on that. But a lot of these occur in most of the HRF games that I play. But there are some strong ones in this. And just looking at this pool, I would say these 3 on the bottom here, the Sprinter Drives, the Repair Drones, and the Tool Priests, just generally are really strong. I think Secret Torpedoes is relatively strong. I don't I see a lot of players choose this early, and I don't know. I kind of don't get it. I think Seeker Torpedoes is fine, especially if you're an aggressive faction like the Rebel. However, yeah, I see people just take it like it's. I don't know. It just seems like it's way more highly regarded than what I think it should be. But it is a good card. Cloud Cities are fine. Gate Stations are fine. Survival Overrides, I think, is sort of dependent on specific situations. Mirror Plating is a strong card, and Warlord's Cruelty is kind of fine. It's sort of dependent as well, specific. Cool. So just right off the bat, I'm thinking I want the Rebel. Sprinter Drives is really good. Basically, if I see Sprinter Drives, I generally will just take it because I just think it's OP. And yeah, that's kind of my thinking looking back. And I end up taking the Sprinter Drives with my first pick. I think taking this, I am praying that the Rebel and Fuel Drinker don't get taken in this first round of selections. Let's just take a quick look as well at our setup here. So we've got the A slot on the on the fuel planet in Sector 6. We've got the really nice gate setup where we've pretty much got the whole of Sector 1 to ourselves. No other ships in there starting this game, so we can look to basically get our own little pizza wedge just to start the game off. And we seem to just be on our own a little bit up the top here, which seems like a really nice setup. And then our B slot on the psionic planet. I actually think this is another argument for Rebel, and I think if I went back into this again, I'd probably just take the Rebel, because we can have our B slot on. The Rebel doesn't place a building on their B slot, and so I kind of like that because psionic is great, powerful resource, and the ability to build a city there is pretty nice, pretty nice. So yeah, I think I probably would take Rebel going back, but that's fine. So OMS is going to take the Seeker Torpedo. So this is what I'm talking about here. Excuse me, I shouldn't be saying the players' names. Hopefully this specific player doesn't have any issue with me saying their name. I've tried to blank out the names, just so there's, not kind of giving away their secrets. So the white player has taken the Seeker Torpedoes. This is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. It seems like people really like this card, and maybe I'm wrong, or not wrong, but just maybe there's something about Seeker Torpedoes that I'm missing. I think it's fine, but yeah, I think there are stronger leader and lore options out here, including Tool Priests and Repair Drones. But yes, the white player has taken the Seeker Torpedoes. Yellow player has gone for the Gate Stations. So let's look at their setup here. So generally, if I'm taking the Gate Stations, I'm looking at my gate location and that initial setup. So they'll be looking at taxing. There's 2 B slots here. So immediately, it's very likely that this material planet will have a starport on it, and this fuel planet will also have a starport on it. There's potential for them to build a city on there, and then for somebody to move in and build a relic city as well. But it's not super great for their initial setup in terms of where they're going to be placing their city. But again, I think Gate Stations is generally a great choice. Let's not turn this into a me bashing on other players' decisions. These, particularly these 4 players that I'm playing with here, are all incredibly strong players. I've had my butt handed to me by each and every one of these players, I'm pretty sure. I just want to talk kind of, I guess, critically at my own decisions, and also any other decisions that I think could be questioned. Whatever. Okay, next. Oh, so the red player is taken the repair drones, which I think is a nice little card. I would agree with that, but good news for us, it means that the rebel is available. I think it's just kind of a no-brainer at this point. The only interesting thing for me, I guess the prerequisites for me generally, taking rebel, I need to eventually have a weapon city, and so I think capitalizing on this sector 1 is going to be key for me, and ensuring that I get cities on this weapon planet here is going to be huge. Generally, as a strategy, I think when we take the rebel, we are looking to be as aggressive as possible on the board. We're going to be getting our points from Warlord a lot, and yeah, fuel is also a good resource for us to have. So I just think having sector 1 is going to be absolutely crucial for us, and then obviously the material planet there, and we've got the fuel set up on in sector 6 as well. So I think this is a really strong rebel pick here, and I'm pretty sure I choose a rebel. Yeah. So we've gone for the rebel. Yeah, I think this is like a dream start for us. Combining that with the sprinter drive. So obviously we can't move as much, but being able to move really far is really good for our general strategy. I think with this leader, obviously we're trying to get lots of trophies. It's the kind of leader where the type of aggression that we're doing is quite important. We're obviously not getting a big mass of ships, moving it around the board, and doing 1 or 2 sort of big tactical battles where we go in and do a big raid and get a bunch of stuff and win some important ambitions in the third or fourth chapter. Instead, we are trying to just be an absolute nuisance to everyone on the board, and anyone that has any kind of threat to do anything, we are going in and making sure that they are weakened. We're basically sending little bombs in everywhere, and using probably the red dice. What are the red dice called? I don't know. It's gone from my brain. Using the aggressor dice to do lots of damage, and raid dice are not really our friend, mostly because they can do a lot of damage because we're rolling four dice and only having 2 ships. If we roll 4 damage, then we don't do any raiding at all. Obviously we can do little cheeky raids here and there, but for the most part we're wanting to move in and do max damage. So yeah, having sprinter drive is really good because we can pretty much get through any gate defenses and just smack everyone. Alright, what's next? White player is going to go for the mirror plating. So a nice sort of balanced combo here of lore cards where they've got the defensive mirror plating, adding intercept rolls to people's attacks, which is not good for us because it specifically applies to the assault dice, which is the dice that we're going to be looking to roll. So we're going to have to keep that in mind if we're attacking the white player going forward. And then the Seeker torpedoes is obviously allowing them to re-roll their assault dice on the offensive. So they've kind of got a bit of both, which is really nice. Really nice. The yellow player is taking the fuel drinker. Good choice here. I think this is kind of, in my opinion, sort of a no-brainer, just because you really don't want to get stuck with any of these 3. I mean, the agitator I think is fine, and it is fun to play. I think that was my initial thinking taking the sprinter drives, as I thought, worst case scenario, I'll have to take the agitator, and I'm kind of fine with that because it's a nice little challenge. But yeah, fuel drinker here is a really nice choice. Right. The red player has taken the Tool Priests. So yeah, I think they've got 2 of the 3 strongest in this pool anyway, law cards. So a really nice setup here for the red player. Just looking at their setup and what they're going to have to choose, I think the Tool Priest is also quite nice in that... Oh no, I thought the Demagogue started with 2 cities, but it looks like they start with the Starport as well. It looks like I can't click on these anymore because... because I've already chosen my leader. That's okay. Okay, back to me. So, looking at what's left, we've got the Warlord's Cruelty, the Survival Overrides, or the Cloud Cities. I think in terms of what works for what we're going to be doing, Warlord's Cruelty might be the option here. While Warlord is declared, you may tax cities that you already taxed this turn, but you can use it to discard. You can discard your weapon Outrage. I think this is probably the choice here. I'm definitely not taking Survival Overrides. It's literally the worst card that we could be taking for the Rebel, just because we're moving. Generally, we're going to be moving into sites where there's more ships than us, and being able to roll more dice than what we're kind of worth. And so taking guys off the board for us only to take one of theirs off is just, it's totally not worth it to us. So Survival Overrides is totally out of it. And so that leaves these 2. I think Cloud Cities is fine. I think the thinking with, if we were to take Cloud Cities, is what I like about it is that we can get all our cities out and get the city bonus. And I do think with the Rebel, we are looking for a shorter game. We're probably generally looking for a game where we can win in the 3rd round, or be kind of a runaway leader going into the 4th. And so Cloud Cities is going to help with that. Like, if we can get all our cities out early, yeah, we can really run away with it. That being said, we have a lot of slots available to us right off the bat in Sector 1. So I don't think it's going to be super hard to get all our cities out. I mean, we've already got we'll be able to put our city out in B. It is pretty vulnerable, I guess. But yeah, we can get... So that's 1 city. How many are we looking to get here? Excuse me. So I'm not sure how to read this, but I think we would have this one out, and so we would need to get 4 cities out, I believe. So we'll probably want a starport here, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, starport. So I think it's, and yeah, you could pretty easily get 4 cities out in these slots. So I think Warlord's Cruelty is the take. I think Cloud Cities is generally a better card, but Cruelty fits better for specifically what we're trying to do here. However, I believe we do end up taking Cloud Cities. So I do think this was probably a mistake. I think the Warlord's Cruelty is probably a better combo. I guess you could say that because we don't have the first choice, we aren't going first in this game, we might not, like, it might be less of a given that we're going to get Sector 1 for ourselves. Someone generally, well, quite often, what players will do early is try and set themselves up outside of where they currently are. So they'll kind of shoot off to an open sector. So we don't know, maybe a player will do that. And that would be really annoying for us. So yeah, I don't know. I still think it's probably the play to take the Warlord's Cruelty instead. Cool. The white player is going to take the Agitator, love it, great choice. The yellow player is taking the Warlord's Cruelty, which I think is fine. I mean, it's between that or the Survivor Overrides. It's kind of just a no-brainer in my opinion. There might be an argument for Survivor Overrides against the Rebel. Is there? Nah. I think it's a strong card against Quartermaster, because obviously Quartermaster's repairing all the time. So being able to take one of their ships off the board without question, with purely just a move, and getting your ship back rather than it going to someone else's trophies. I think there is value in that. I just haven't found it yet. Even in game, I've taken this specifically to counter Quartermaster, and then it just hasn't really worked, or hasn't. I don't know. I just haven't used it correctly or something. And then the red player is going to take the Noble, which I think is a really great choice for their specific situation. Obviously, they didn't have much to choose from, but I think if you're choosing between, what were they choosing between? Yeah, that or the Demagogue. I just think it's a no-brainer. Nobles are really fun to play. Like getting to top deck cards all the time is really nice, and they're going first, so they get to immediately declare and immediately get something. The other interesting thing, I guess, with this specific setup, which I probably should have spoke to earlier, is the court deck. This court deck is insane. Like I don't think I've ever seen a court deck, and I remember this game just because of this crazy court deck. You've got the Farseers and the Silver Tongues. Farseers is, I think, far and away just the best court card in the game. I don't think it matters about the specific situation that you're in. I think if you see Farseers in the court, you need to be trying to get that card. It's insane. It's basically the same as any of the Union cards, except with 2 extra powers. Like, being able to swap out your cards, so you get an extra card, but you can also throw away a couple of yours if they suck, and get different cards back. And then if you do, on top of that, like that in and of itself would be as good as a Union card. But then on top of that, you can declare an ambition and look at other players' cards and take one. Like that, it's just, that could be a card on its own, and it would be like relatively strong. So yeah, Farseers is just crazy good. The only problem with taking Farseers is it's like a hot potato. Like it just, as soon as you've got it, you're public enemy number one generally. So you've got that. Silver Tongue's probably the second most powerful court card in the game. I guess on the surface it doesn't seem super great, in that you're just stealing someone else's card. What's the difference between that and Guild Struggle, which is another? Allows you to take someone's court card, but it's a Vox card, so it's an instant action. I think that the difference is quite large in that the power of the Silver Tongues is, listen to me here. The power of the Silver Tongues is that it's a threat to anyone else taking any cards ever, and particularly having it out early. If you can race for that and get it, no one's going to want to be taking any court cards. And so having Silver Tongues out there at the beginning of the game, it's always something that I pay attention to, because it's a good way. You can probably quite often, like I've played a few games where I've been able to get Silver Tongues and been kind of frustrated because people aren't taking court cards and I can't steal them. But then at the same time, it's like, well, they're not taking court cards, so they're not getting any benefits from having court cards. Meanwhile, I can just happily prance around the court, securing, influencing, living my life. I think the threat of Silver Tongues is insanely powerful. And then on top of that, having an empath token as well. It's just, really great card. So pretty much the two best cards in the game. Loyal Keepers is probably one of the top whatever. I mean, all the loyal cards are relatively good. Loyal Keepers is a really strong card. And so having that out there as well, really great. And then on top of that, the literal worst card in the court deck, the Outrage Spreads, wherein somebody can basically turn off the faucet of one of the resources for everyone in the game. For us, and just looking at our specific setup, this specific court deck I think is kind of a nightmare for us. The Rebel generally isn't wanting to be prancing around in the court deck that much. I mean, we can't... Like all mobilization cards, we're pretty much wanting to use for movement rather than influencing. So it's basically half of the cards that allow us to influence are now kind of gone on movement actions, generally. And we're just wanting to use our actions doing that. And then the aggression cards, we're wanting to, rather than using those to secure court cards, we're wanting to use those to aggress, and to assert our influence on, that's a poor choice of words, assert our dominance on the board with our extra dice. And so seeing this really powerful court deck, it's kind of not great. I guess there is kind of an added, I don't know, bonus in that the Silver Tongues thing, whoever gets the Silver Tongues, we're not really worried about getting court cards anyway, so that's not going to have too much of a threat on us. Who knows though? I think from memory we might dance around in the court a little bit anyway, regardless of the fact that we have the Rebel. I think we might go outside the bounds of sort of what we generally should be doing with the Rebel, which is, again, kind of, I think that might be the reason why I picked this game. I can't actually remember. I sort of just quickly flicked through and I remember this court deck. So it'll be interesting to see the choices that we made. We do win this game, so I will say that. I wanted to talk about a game where I look awesome and end up winning the game. No. I don't know. This is just a game that I happen to pick. I think it's I think the Rebel is a really interesting leader, and I think from memory it was is a really quite explosive game anyway. So that's why I wanted to talk to it. Is there anything else we want to talk about here? I think I was talking about the outrage spreads. I think really want to make sure, and what I think I was worried about playing this game is that weapon doesn't get outraged. Like, if weapon gets outraged, it's very, very hard to make the Rebel very effective. And already I'm seeing the another reason for taking the Warlord's Cruelty over the Cloud Cities, just because we'd have the option to get rid of our weapon outrage, which I think is just a massive boost there. So yeah, I think it was definitely a mistake taking the Cloud Cities over the Warlord's Cruelty for sure. But yeah, I think just looking at this setup and our setup now, we probably really want to make sure that isn't weapon. And unfortunately, this is an asynchronous game where we're not all sitting around a table talking, and so you can't sort of use any sort of politicking. Not that I'm very good at that anyway. It's a talent that I have a lot to work on with. Yeah, I end up just sort of, I don't know. I always just feel like anyway, whatever. Is there anything else that we want to talk about here? I think that's it. I think I'll I might just do a video per round, and that way it sort of breaks it up for me as well, and I'm not sort of talking for ages. But hopefully this was enjoyable. There was something in here for people to talk about, stew on. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.